My father always said family comes first, but after he died, I realized that to them, I was never really family. They pretended I didn't exist until I made sure they could never forget me again. My name is Ryan Hayes, and I'm the youngest of 4 children, or at least I was supposed to be. When my dad passed away last year, I didn't just lose a parent. I lost the last thread of connection to a family that never really treated me like one of their own. I grew up on the edge of wealth, not because we were poor, but because I was treated like an outsider in my own home. My father built our family business from scratch, Hayes Landscaping Solutions, and by the time he died, we were doing 7 figures annually. We had a beautiful home in a quiet, upper-class suburb outside of Denver, a 2-story colonial-style house with a wraparound porch and the kind of backyard you only see in magazines. But behind those elegant walls was a family that slowly fractured over the years because of money, pride, and secrets that no one wanted to admit. My mom passed away when I was only 9. After that, it was just Dad, my older brothers, Nathan and Kyle, and my sister, Elise, and me. The afterthought, the mistake. My siblings were all at least 10 years older than I was. They had their own circle, their own childhoods, their own memories. By the time I was old enough to hold a conversation, they were already off to college or working in the family business. My father always tried to make me feel seen, but the others never did. I wasn't in the family group chats. I was left out of vacation plans. They'd say things like, "Oh, you were too young," or "You wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway." I tried not to care. I told myself I didn't need them. I went to college out of state, got my own degree in environmental engineering, and started working for a small but promising eco-consulting firm. I love my work. I never asked for money. I rarely came home, and when I did, it was like walking into someone else's house. But I always made time for Dad. He was the only one who remembered my birthday, the only one who checked in when I had the flu, and the only one who ever said he was proud of me. Then, last November, he had a stroke. It was sudden, massive, and the kind that doctors don't give much hope for. I flew back immediately, but by the time I reached the hospital, he was already gone. My siblings had been there first, and when I arrived, it was like walking into a board meeting, not a family emergency. Kyle was pacing and already making calls. Nathan was asking about the estate. Elise hugged me, quickly, but her eyes were already red from crying. I asked what had happened, and Nathan coldly explained, "Massive stroke." He didn't feel anything. He was gone before the ambulance even got here. No one asked how I was doing. No one offered to stay with me. Instead, they started talking logistics. Memorial plans. The will. I felt like I was floating outside of my body the whole time, hearing words but not absorbing them. After the funeral, we met with Dad's longtime attorney, a stiff but kind man named Gerald. That's when everything finally made sense and broke me. Gerald opened a large manila envelope and pulled out Dad's latest will. He read the clauses one by one, his voice professional and calm. The business? Left entirely to Nathan and Kyle. The family home? Given to Elise. The savings, investments, properties? Split equally between the 3 of them. And me? Nothing. Not a cent. Not a mention. Not even my name. I sat there in silence as my entire family avoided eye contact with me. Gerald looked up, surprised. "There must be some mistake," he said, flipping pages. "Ryan, are you sure you weren't mentioned in any addendum? Did your father update his wishes?" I looked at my siblings, waiting for them to speak. Nathan cleared his throat. "Dad probably didn't think Ryan needed anything. He's got a job, right? And he's always been independent." Elise spoke next. "Besides, maybe he was planning to revise it, but didn't get the chance." Gerald sighed. "Well, unless there's a newer document, this will stands." I left that meeting without saying a word. The humiliation didn't come from the money. It came from the betrayal. My father would never cut me out without reason. We were close. We spoke every week. He asked about my job, my life, my goals. And now nothing? That night, I went back to the house one last time. Elise was already there, walking through the rooms like she owned the place. I watched from the driveway as she called a real estate agent and talked about light remodeling. That was my childhood home, the place where Dad taught me how to ride a bike, The kitchen where he made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs just to make me smile. And now it was a trophy for his sister who never treated me like blood. That night, I drove to a hotel and cried harder than I had in years. But pain is a funny thing. It can either break you or sharpen you. And I decided I wasn't going to let this break me. I took 2 weeks off work and started digging. I wanted answers. Why was I left out? Why didn't Dad include me? I contacted Gerald again, and he said something odd. Your father came in to update his will about 6 months ago, but he never completed the process. He seemed distracted. He mentioned wanting to leave something special for you. That only made it worse. I dug deeper. I started looking through emails, old bank statements, even Dad's cloud drive, which I still had access to. That's when I found it. A draft email to Gerald titled, Final Addendum, for Ryan. It wasn't sent, but it was clear as day. Dad had written, Ryan is the only one who never asked me for anything. He's my youngest, and he's always made me proud. I want him to have the family home. It's where we had our best memories together. My heart stopped. He wanted me to have the house. Not Elise. Me. But he never sent the email. He probably planned to. Maybe even the day of the stroke. But fate got in the way. I printed that draft. I sent it to Gerald. But he shook his head. It won't hold in court, Ryan. It's not signed, not witnessed. I'm sorry. So I did what anyone would do when they have nothing left to lose. I started planning the long game. I moved back to Denver. Quietly. I took a second job and saved every dime. I started networking, connecting with realtors and investment bankers. I studied the market and learned how to navigate property auctions and foreclosure loopholes. And after 10 brutal months of hustling in silence, I saw it. Elise had listed the house. She was trying to sell it. But she didn't know that the agent she hired? I knew him. We'd gone to college together. And when he saw my name, he gave me a heads up. She's listing it fast and cheap, man. Wants to get rid of it ASAP. You want in? I did. And I had just enough to make it happen. But I didn't want to just buy it. I wanted them to know exactly what they did. So I placed the bid anonymously, through a shell LLC I created just for this purpose. I let the sale process go through. Elise was eager. She signed papers without even seeing the buyer. And when everything was finalized and the property title changed hands, I walked up to that same porch, rang the doorbell, and waited. Elise opened the door, confused. Can I help you? I smiled. Hi, sis. I'm going to need you to pack up your things. This house, it's mine now. Her face drained of color. What? That's not possible. I just sold it. Yes, I said, holding up the deed with my name on it, to me. And that was only the beginning. Elise stood frozen in the doorway, her mouth slightly open like her brain was still trying to catch up with what I just said. Her perfectly manicured hand tightened around the edge of the door, like that flimsy piece of wood could stop her life from falling apart. You're lying, she finally said, her voice sharp but shaking. I calmly handed her the copy of the deed, complete with the LLC name and the official signatures, her own included. She snatched it and scanned through the pages, her eyes darting left to right as her world began to collapse. No. This can't be right. I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I didn't need to. The silence between us was already louder than anything I could have said. I gave you a week to move out, I said, keeping my voice even. The legal notice is already filed. The house is mine now. You can try to fight it in court, but it won't change a thing. It's done. And then I walked away. I didn't need to stay and argue. She could scream, cry, beg, none of it mattered anymore. I had already won. That night, I sat in the rental car outside the old neighborhood, just watching the lights in the windows dim one by one. I could only imagine the phone calls flying between Elise, Nathan, and Kyle. I knew it wouldn't be long before they all came running. Sure enough, 2 days later, I got a call. Unknown number. I answered. You little snake, Nathan hissed through the speaker. What the hell are you playing at? Oh, just reclaiming what's mine, I said coolly. Your sister sold me the house fair and square. You're disgusting. You knew Dad's intentions. That house wasn't supposed to be yours. I almost laughed. Exactly. It was supposed to be mine. He wrote it. You all erased it. Now I've just corrected that mistake. He barked something unintelligible and hung up. An hour later, Kyle showed up at the house, furious and red-faced. threatening to sue me. I invited him inside, offered him coffee, and handed him a legal document showing everything was airtight and legitimate. He stormed out 5 minutes later. I didn't hear from Elise again. She left quietly, furious but defeated. But I wasn't done yet. You see, the house was just the first part of my revenge. I wasn't going to stop until every single one of them knew exactly what they had done to me, and exactly what it felt like to be discarded like trash by the people who were supposed to love you the most. My next move was the family business, Hayes Landscaping Solutions. It was worth millions, and I had helped build its foundation. Not directly, maybe, but my father had always said that I was his inspiration to expand it into eco-friendly services. My degree had influenced how he designed new offerings. He used to run ideas by me. I'd never gotten credit for that. Now it was time they paid the price. I started attending industry events, carefully observing my brother's operations from a distance. I hired a few of their ex-employees quietly, anonymously, people who had quit or been fired over petty disagreements. I learned about every internal flaw, the outdated software systems, the bloated payroll, the overpriced suppliers. I took notes on everything. Then I launched my own company, a direct competitor. Leaner, smarter, eco-focused. And I called it Green Legacy, a nod to what my father always wanted the business to evolve into. My first few months were slow, brutal, honestly. But I pushed forward. I undercut their bids just slightly. I offered superior service with faster turnaround. And the clients began to come. Slowly at first, then faster. It didn't take long for whispers to spread in the landscaping world about a young, driven entrepreneur who seemed to know every weakness Hayes Landscaping had. Nathan must have suspected. Kyle definitely did. They knew someone was hitting them where it hurt. But they didn't know it was me. Not yet. Meanwhile, I kept my appearances clean. I didn't trash them in public. I acted like just another competitor in the market. But behind the scenes, I was ruthless. I hired one of their former sales leads and gave him a 10% bonus for every major client he brought over. Within 6 months, their largest commercial contract, an entire chain of luxury hotels, jumped ship to me. That was the first domino. When I saw the article in the local business journal, I knew I had them on the ropes. Green Legacy steals major contract from industry giant Hayes Landscaping. I printed that article and framed it in my new office. It felt better than anything money could buy. My brothers called me a few days later. This time, on speakerphone. You think you're clever? Nathan spat. You're poaching our clients and destroying everything Dad built. I'm building what Dad wanted, I replied calmly. You just built what suited your wallets. Kyle jumped in, his voice tight with rage. You're going to regret this. You can't just take everything and pretend like you're some victim. I didn't take anything, I said. I earned it. Just like you thought you earned that inheritance. And look where that got you. I ended the call. That week, their company laid off a third of its workforce. Too many contracts lost. Too many operational costs left unbalanced. I knew because I hired one of their laid-off HR managers. I had people everywhere now. Elise, meanwhile, tried to reach out through email. A long message full of fake sentiment. How she missed me. How she thought we could find a way to be a family again. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent her a digital photo of the fireplace inside the house, newly renovated, with the caption, "Looks better without the mold?" Huh? I wasn't being cruel. I was just done pretending. I had spent my whole life trying to earn love that was never going to be given. Now I was making sure they saw what real power looked like. But the part that hurt the most, the part one couldn't shake, was still the question of why. Why did Dad never sign that email? Why was I cut out at the last minute? I couldn't let it go. I kept revisiting that email draft over and over. And that's when I noticed something strange. The timestamp on the draft was only 2 hours before his stroke. It was saved from a device in his office. That same office had security cameras, ones that I hadn't thought to check because my siblings had cleared it out before I arrived. But then I remembered something. My dad was paranoid about cloud backups. Everything, his cameras, his passwords, his documents, was backed up to a secure external server. And guess what? I still had access. I logged in, started scanning through the footage from the day he died. My hands were shaking the whole time. And then I saw it. Elise, in his office, sitting at his computer. An hour before the stroke. She was typing something, then deleting, then opening his email. The camera angle wasn't perfect, but it was enough to see what she was doing. She deleted the draft. She erased the addendum. She cleared the recycle bin. Then she looked right into the camera for a second, expressionless, and walked out. My chest tightened. My fingers went numb. My own sister had deliberately erased my father's final wish, and he never got a chance to rewrite it. I saved the footage. I uploaded it to a private drive. Then I called Gerald, the attorney. I showed him the evidence. This changes everything, he said, stunned. You may not be able to undo the will, but if this goes public, her reputation is finished. I nodded slowly. Good. That's exactly what I want. And just like that, the final phase of my plan began. I didn't go public right away. No, that would have been too easy, too merciful. Instead, I decided Elise needed to feel what it's like when the world stops trusting you, when everything you build on lies begins to collapse, brick by brick. So I started whispering, quietly, strategically. I had a friend who worked in real estate law. He started mentioning her name in the context of shady will manipulations, how her father's final estate had some strange irregularities that weren't properly investigated. I left anonymous tips to 2 local journalists who had already covered the family's wealth and property. And then, I booked a meeting with a producer for a business ethics podcast. They were doing a series on inheritance fraud and betrayal. I gave them the footage, the proof, the entire timeline of events, just without saying my name. I let the story speak for itself. Within 2 weeks, the episode dropped. It was titled The Deleted Will: How One Family Member Erased a Legacy. It went viral faster than I imagined. Everyone in our town knew who it was about. Elise's name wasn't mentioned, but the details were too specific to mistake. The pressure hit her like a landslide. Real estate partners started dropping her. She was removed from a community board she'd proudly chaired for 5 years. And the best part? The ethics committee from her broker's license began a formal investigation. Nathan and Kyle were panicking now. Their family name was attached to Elise. Their business had already been wounded by mine. Now it was hemorrhaging trust. Contractors pulled out. Clients hesitated. Internally, I heard they were at each other's throats, blaming Elise for everything. And yet, none of them could publicly come after me. Why? Because I hadn't broken a single law. Every move was legal. Every deal above board, every whisper just far enough from slander. That's the beauty of doing things smart. But it still wasn't enough for me. I needed Elise to know why this was happening. I wanted her to look me in the eye and see what her choices had cost. So I waited for the right moment. And then it came, a charity auction she was co-hosting. She needed the event to save her image. It was her big comeback. Everyone in the room was rich, influential, and curious about whether the rumors were true. I walked in halfway through the event, wearing the black tailored suit my father gifted me years ago. Elise spotted me immediately. Her jaw locked, her smile twitched, but she kept going. Until I won the final auction item, a painting that used to hang in our father's study. The irony was delicious. I paid 3 times its value. As I stepped up to accept it, the room was silent. And I looked her straight in the eye and said into the mic, calmly and clearly, "This piece reminds me of something my father once said. Integrity is what you do when no one's watching, but sometimes someone is." A few people laughed nervously. Elise paled. I walked off the stage without another word. That was the moment she knew. That I'd seen the footage. That I knew everything. That the ruin around her wasn't an accident, it was judgment. After that, she finally broke. She sent a letter to my office. Not an email. A handwritten letter, like it would somehow carry more weight. She apologized. She claimed she panicked. That she was scared when she saw the draft. That she didn't mean to hurt me, just that she thought Dad had been manipulated. She tried to play the confused daughter card. But what caught my eye was the last line. If I could take it back, I would. But maybe this is what I deserve. It almost made me feel something. Almost. But then I remembered the months I spent homeless, crashing on friends' couches because I had nowhere to go after Dad's funeral. I remembered the jobs I had to take just to survive while they were dividing up my father's legacy like I never existed. No, sorry wasn't enough. Meanwhile, Kyle had filed a complaint against my business, trying to claim I'd stolen proprietary contracts. But I had paper trails for everything. He lost the case and had to pay my legal fees. Nathan tried to get a restraining order against me, claiming harassment, only for the judge to throw it out due to lack of evidence. These were desperate moves by desperate men. The final blow came a few months later. Hayes Landscaping filed for bankruptcy. Their brand was damaged. Too many clients had walked. Too much debt piled up. They tried to sell their headquarters building, and guess who bought it? Me. Through a silent LLC, just like I did with the family home. I didn't even need the space, but I turned it into Green Legacy's new flagship office. I kept the Hayes nameplate in the basement, just as a reminder. And with that, it was done. I had everything they tried to steal from me and more. The house, the clients, the respect, the empire. But the funny thing is, revenge didn't feel like fireworks. It wasn't loud. It was quiet, cold, satisfying in a slow-burning way, like justice served on ice. A few weeks after I moved into the new office, I got a call from Gerald, our old family lawyer. He said there was something I needed to see. A document he'd recently uncovered while closing out some of my father's archived files. I met him in his office, unsure of what to expect. He handed me a sealed envelope, old, faded, but untouched. Inside was a letter, written by my father, dated 3 days before his stroke. To my child, it read, "I know I haven't always shown you how proud I am, but I want you to know you are the one who carries my vision forward. My mind may be getting slower, but my heart is clear. If something happens to me before I get to finalize everything, please don't let them push you aside. You are stronger than they'll ever understand. And in time, I hope you forgive me for not being more open. Love always, Dad." I stared at the letter for a long time, my throat tight, my eyes wet. It didn't change the past, but it made the future feel a little less bitter. He had tried. He had known. They just didn't let him finish. And now? Now they couldn't stop me. I rose from that chair, walked out into the evening, and looked up at the sky. The stars didn't look brighter. The wind didn't sing some victory anthem. But inside, I was at peace. And peace, I've learned, is the most powerful kind of revenge there is. The final chapter of this saga wasn't about fireworks. It was about what came after. What came next. The aftermath of revenge is often silent, but in my case, it was powerful. Elise's career crumbled. Her name was tarnished beyond repair. She went from charity galas to dark corners of the internet, her reputation permanently damaged. Nathan and Kyle weren't much better. Their business struggles were public. Their efforts to salvage it only highlighted their failures. Meanwhile, I was thriving. My company, Green Legacy, grew stronger, attracting clients who had once been too scared to work with me. The media didn't stop talking about the scandal surrounding the Hayes family. People were curious, but they didn't judge me the way they had Elise. They admired my resilience, my ability to turn the tables without breaking the law, without resorting to violence. I had played the long game, and in the end, it paid off. I bought their home, not because I needed it, but because I wanted them to know I could. I didn't need their approval or their money. What I needed was justice, and I'd gotten it. Elise reached out one last time. It was a message through a mutual acquaintance. She wanted to meet, to apologize. She said she understood now. She said she didn't know how to fix things, but she hoped I could forgive her. I didn't respond. What would forgiveness do? It wouldn't bring back what they took. It wouldn't heal the wounds she left. In the end, what mattered wasn't forgiveness. It was winning. And that's exactly what I did. The last time I looked back, Elise had lost everything. My revenge wasn't just about business. It was about showing her that no one, not even the closest family, could take what was rightfully mine. The legacy was mine. The house was mine. The future was mine. And most importantly, my peace was finally mine. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you never miss a new story. Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts on this tale of revenge. Thanks for watching.